All right, yo, welcome to the show. Where should we start? Should we start with the China summit or the $1.8 billion slush fund?
Oh my God.
Amazing topics.
Oh my God.
I think the
Hit us
slush
hit us
fund
on
is
the
pretty
summit,
good.
right? You're like you were an ambassador to the Southeast Asian nations, which I assume is a bunch that don't include China, but obviously you are an expert in this region. So like, what are we to make of how things are going right now?
Yeah. Look, when you say going, you mean right now or sort of the big right now? Because the big right now in terms of the countries of Southeast Asia where I used to work, look, it's a tough neighborhood. The thing that across an incredibly diverse region that is Southeast Asia and diverse across every dimension, political system, economic development levels, religion, everything. The thing that is immutable about their geography and their neighborhood is that they've got a coercive neighbor to the north. And each and every one of them, you could sort of map their relationships with both Beijing and the US on a spectrum, closer to one, closer to the other, but each and every one of them has a really deep vested interest in seeing how the Trump administration is approaching Beijing, trying to find some level of predictability in it, trying to understand where they fit within the context.
Good luck.
Where they fit within the context of that dynamic. And you sort of, your chuckle hits the nail on the head. They place a premium on predictability. That is a through line across the region, and they also place a premium on understanding if and when they show and they flex their sovereign rights and their autonomy, if that will be backed up by the world superpower.
Yes. Is anyone going to have their back, or is it just going to be like, good luck with that? Yeah, you should definitely have sovereignty. It's not going to be on us, but someone should care about that. Yeah, tough one.
and look, I will confess to have not invested a whole lot of time on the slush fund, other than the very predictable groan upon reading it. I mean, it is
pretty
it
crazy.
is unfortunately of a kind with a lot of what we've seen over the last year and a half.
Is there any stopping it, Jason? Like,
nut.
can it be challenged? Like, is this literally like he can just make up stuff and say like, we now just give away $2 billion?
I assume there'll be a challenge. I assume that like there should be some kind of law that says we can't just appropriate funds from the Treasury and give away to insurrectionists. I assume there will be political challenges, but I don't have the law. I think like the bigger thing that's like we sort of reached in this point in the Trump administration, which is unfortunate because there's like sort of too much time left on the clock, is the idea of him creating a $2 billion slush fund and giving it away to like sort of people who are loyal to him, like really just doesn't feel like that surprising. It's like, yeah, that's definitely something that he would do. It's like, it should shock the consciousness. It should like sort of be a scandal, but you're also just like, yeah, it's just going to be one of the things on the list that we're going to have to deal with later, I guess. It's hard to get, it's hard to say like, okay, this is the bridge that is too far and we must stop this before any other thing. It's like, yeah, of course, I hope the tab's only $2 billion. It would be lucky if at this point he only loots the country for $2 billion is my legitimate reaction.
Hey, great, man.
No, it's not great. It's not great. I'm glad there's other people who are going to push on that particular thread, but it's not great. I will tell you my favorite part of the China summit was when she took Trump to go look at the old trees, like the garden of the old trees. And like clearly the point of the meeting was like, we got these really old trees here because we've been around for forever. And like, it's our time and we're coming back with our old ass trees. That was like the import of the showing him the old trees. But Trump was just like, has anyone else seen these trees? Do you bring other people, other world leaders to seeing this tree? Or am I like special for getting to see the trees? I was like, yes, bro. And he's like, oh, you're very special to get to see these old trees. He's like, yes, I knew it. I knew I was a special boy. I knew there's a reason why I got to see these trees. That was my favorite part of the summit.
It's so tough. I mean, for me, obviously, I worry a lot about Taiwan, and clearly he seems to be willing to just explicitly put Taiwan as a bargaining chip here. And And it's unclear to me whether he cares at all, whether Xi decided to take Taiwan, other than the obviously incredibly important strategic value of having, access to the semiconductors and, ideally protecting democracies around the world. Um, but this is something like we've talked to Ben Rhodes, your colleague back in the White House, about, the U.S. has always had economic interest. That's always been an important part of what we've been doing. But we also tried to marry that with an idea around values. And the hollowing out of that and the kind of refusal to acknowledge that and just a blanket threaten our allies is the part that I imagine must be quite stunning.
Look, I think the maybe lifting up from just the news of the week, news of the day, and I'm sure this is consonant with things that you guys have talked about with Ben. It is one of the things that has been the most troubling to watch, I think, for anyone that was engaged in the gardening of alliance maintenance. We did so because it's a pretty clear and for decades bipartisan set of understandings as to the very clear ROI that comes from a well-maintained alliance system. And it's this is obviously not a novel or proprietary thought, but I think we have spent years asking folks to orient any number of things around a set of expectations from us that they're just having to recalibrate in real time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And it's like, and it'll be unclear, and it's going to be like, regardless of what happens next, it's just going to be unclear how we ever like recoup value on that trade. Like, we've traded away something very precious for essentially nothing, and it's not restorable. So, it's just part of the damage that can't easily be put back.
Well, I do think it is going to take, to that point. And again, I think this is something that could be expanded outside of certainly alliance management or really even foreign policy writ large. Whoever the next Democratic president is, and whenever that person assumes office, the degree of difficulty in terms of what their entry is going to be, I think is gonna dwarf prior president's ascension into office, because it's going to require not only the operational excellence and capacity to rebuild the federal executive, it's also going to take a whole lot of creativity, because thinking about, by and large, and this is not universally true, but by and large, when President Biden went into office, at least a meaningful backbone of a lot of policies was restoration fundamentally. And that's not a tool that is going to be available in a whole set of realms whenever the next president comes in.
Yeah, that's right. It won't be available both because of the events of the previous 4 years, and it also just won't be available because of the realities of politics. You'll need to come, like the next person will need to come in with not just a reclamation project, but a no, we're not going back, but here's the new forward, and here's how we move quickly in the face of what's happened.
But the model that has been established for my entire lifetime is like the Republicans just seem to break everything, and then we come in and we try and pick up the pieces, right? Whether it's the Iraq War or whether it's the financial, situations. And again, Clinton was he was the one who signed Glass-Steagall being taken apart, so we bear responsibility for that as well. But just like seemingly, we keep having to step in and fix things, and it's fundamentally easier to break things than it is to fix them, as Trump is proving daily. So I guess my question is, Jason, would you be for someone an autocratic-ish or leaning, like somebody who is willing to push hard within the legal limits to say, like, no, we are going to fix this shit? And so you saw what he did.
I will firmly say on the record of this podcast that I am not in favor of autocrats just generally.
Let me not be like, let me not show any assent with silence. I certainly am also anti-autocrat. But what I will say, because I think you're pulling on something that's really important, and I think you're seeing actually a lot of unanimity across the party and in various wings of the party around this. I do think there's going to be a big premium on an executive that places an emphasis on delivery and not process. And, delivery is a loaded word and it has ideological connotations. But when I say delivery in this sense, I really mean whether it's, the leftmost candidate you can conceive coming out of our primary or someone more centrist.
Yeah.
The moment requires someone who's going to, be focused on putting points on the board and not, proceduralism. I do think is a fairly universally despised trait at this point in the party.
Virtue. Yeah, it's a universally despised virtue. I think like the difference is that someone's going to have to run on things like whether it's the reforming the judiciary or reforming the filibuster or whatever it is that's going to be proposed. Like those are going to have to be explicit planks of a campaign, not something that's snuck in, so that it's clear like this is what this is what we're voting
going big.
for. Like and so that also like the Congress that's elected with that president like shares that mandate, that it's not just like it's like, oh well, I was on board for these ideals, but not the means by which they're achieved. I think that's the way in which you achieve those goals, the which you achieve delivery in a way that's consistent with democratic process, as opposed to the autocratic light version.
Fair enough. I may not have been precise enough in my framing of that, but yeah, I'm looking for bold. But one way to do that, Jason, is to harness some of the incredible new technology that has been created over the course of the last couple of years that could potentially enable these kinds of transformations.
Yeah.
So talk to us about the launch of your new project, csaip.org, that launched this last week.
Oh, wow. The plugs up front this week. The Center for Shared AI Prosperity launched last week with me and some old friends. A bunch of interesting folks involved, including like former Vox writer Dylan Matthews, and some of the folks who are advising it are the folks from Blue Rose Research, whose work I've long admired in opinion polling. And there's like a number of interesting technologists and other people involved, old Biden folks, old Obama folks, and the goal is basically to source ideas on how to have a redistributive economic framework for the AI era, so that the gains of this era do not accrue merely to those at the very top. And I think it's also predicated on this moment where I think that AI is going to be one of the dominant issues of not just, sort of the 26 cycle, but definitely the 28 cycle. I think people, as you saw over the weekend, there was a lot of commencement speeches that got booed when people were talking about AI. I don't think in all cases that's necessarily the fault of the speaker, but I do think it is representative of this moment where the graduates of 2026 look a lot like the graduates of 2008, where they're entering into this moment where it's like, well, it feels like the previous generation really wrecked this for the rest of us, and kept all the benefits for themselves. Where does that leave us? And so I definitely feel their anger is warranted. And we're also talking about the most powerful technology that's ever been developed and controlled completely in private hands. One of the interesting things that's been going on the last few weeks is we've talked about before the Department of War's beef with Anthropic, and this kind of silly fight that they picked with them. One of the interesting trends that happened last week is that it seems, based on reporting, Anthropic went in and briefed Bessent and the Treasury on what Mythos, their new next generation model, could do from a cybersecurity infosec perspective on the financial system. And the Treasury Department was like, fuck, okay, we're gonna have to do something. Like, it was no longer this is bullshit, like you can't count like the R's in strawberry. Like, we're gonna have to do something about that. And pretty much everyone who has seen Anthropic's Mythos, it seems that is the reaction, where folks suddenly get religion and decide like, oh, we're gonna have to do something. We're gonna have to do something different than we were thinking 3 months ago or 6 months ago. So right. It's a very emergent, volatile situation. I think my interest in CSAIP is sourcing good policies that are responsive to the challenge that's ahead. So that's that site. I'm excited to be a part of it.
Great. Great. Well, we're glad to have you working on it. Thank you. Thank you for that work, and we'll look forward to seeing what the results.
Yeah,
of
we should have some. Well, it'll be really interesting. It's both like the policies. I mean, anyone who's listening to this should take a look at the site and consider like filling out the RFI because like we're looking for ideas that are not just from the think tanks of the world, although those too. I think it's a place where lots of ideas are welcome.
Nice. Well, we are stoked for that, and we are stoked to meet you and to welcome you here, Yohannes Abraham, former U.S. Ambassador to ASEAN. Welcome.
Glad to be here. I almost just welcomed myself. Very glad to be here.
You welcome yourself. Welcome yourself.
This is my my much well, I would say much anticipated, but it's really only anticipated by me return to podcasting after
really
my let's just say I was late to understanding the reach and importance of podcasts circa 2017 when I went on our friend's podcast, Pod Save America, thinking fundamentally it was just like, five guys in a garage and
right.
Had a level of preparation that was commensurate with that assessment.
Okay. Jason, were you clear with Yo about the difference between Pod Save America and our podcast reach?
I think he gets it. He's a fan. He listens, so he knows. He knows this. He knows our vibe.
Okay. Very good.
This is the real podcast. Those Pod
the
Save
real
guys with their empire. They're doing something, but
we are very happy to have you here, and we're right smack in the dab in the middle of the Summer of Jason.
Yeah, the Summer of Jason. Congratulations, Yo, on being part of the Summer of Jason. Finally, I get to pick the guests. I get to pick the movies. It's really going great for me. I love the Summer of Jason.
Really good. And so
glad to be a part.
Yeah, we put out a bunch, and you picked Cameron Crowe's 2000 rock and roll memoir, Almost Famous. Very excited to get into that movie, and we will do that in just a few minutes. Before we do, next week, Jason, the Summer of Jason continues.
Yes!
This is actually, I'm really excited about this one. This is another one where you brought the guest. So we have coming New York Times best-selling author Soman Chinani, who he is writing this new book called Young World, which I'm now about halfway through. And it's a story about a 17-year-old being elected president of the United States and a youth revolt that unfolds across the globe, where you have the prime ministers of England and Italy and France all being replaced by teenagers as they demand the right to address the challenges facing the world and make the needs of the young a priority. And so it's a really fascinating framework for a book, and it's a really fun book to read as well. So very excited to have Soman joining us next week as we do Stanley Kubrick's final film, Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh my God, what a great pick. I'm so excited. Yo, you'll be excited to know that Soman, we got connected with, it's an Eric Schultz connection. So
that's great. That's great.
It's a back-to-back sort of Obama connection week. We're very excited about that. And Eyes Wide Shut is one of my absolute favorite movies of all time. And I was talking to Eric about it, and I don't want to spoil too much. Soman has done a lot of work on Eyes Wide Shut. He comes to this not casually. This is not a casual pick. So I'm excited.
I have never rewatched it. I watched it once when it first came out, on DVD.
You're a Philistine. Yeah,
I know. I'm in trouble.
Your takes are terrible.
All right, we will see.
Would it be ungracious of me as a guest to say that saying that Eyes Wide Shut is one of your favorite movies of all time in and of itself is a hot take?
It is a hot take. No, it is a hot take. It's suspicious. I mean, it's very suspicious. And yet I stand by it. I think it's underappreciated as a movie. I think it's underappreciated as a Stanley movie.
I look forward to listening.
Movie. Yeah.
We will find out. So that is next week. Jason, can we do some quick Hatch news?
Hatch news from beyond.
I was there. I was with Gandalf at the Swatch riots.
The Swatch riots, yes. This is Watch Talk. Do we have the sounder ready, or are you gonna punch it in post?
We'll do it in the end, but go for it.
Okay. Watch Talk. This is very niche, but it was a request from Mr. Java to cover in Hatch News, and I felt we should oblige. Audemars Piguet and Swatch announced that they were going to release a Swatch Royal Oak. The Royal Oak is like AP's like sort of signature sports watch. And when Swatch has done this before with Omega,
Who is
there's
AP?
been
Who are they? Who's
Audemars
AP?
Piguet. It's one of the top 3 Swiss watch manufacturers, very, very high end, and they make a bunch of really interesting watches. And then they make these watches, the Royal Oak Offshores, which are like sort of their moneymaker. It's like where everyone like they like, you know, celebrities buy them, and like athletes buy them, and like, you know, they're very much like their status symbol watch. And they're, you know, like $100,000 and up. And so they're not approachable. But they're gonna make like a $200 version with Swatch, made out of their like sort of special plastic, and people went bananas. Like there were riots at the opening of the Swatch stores. So much so that Swatch had to like put out a special announcement, like, please note, this is not a limited edition watch. Please do not camp out overnight, like start riots, because like you could get one later. Like they're going to be available. So it's a very interesting, it's like an interesting sort of post-capitalism moment where like people are like, oh, I got to be there. I got to be like, I got to be ready to be in line. But in fact, it turns out like it was not actually a scarce resource. So yeah, that's what's going on with the Swatch AP situation. The watch does look cool. I would fuck with one.
Are you getting one?
I don't know. I'm not gonna go to a riot to get one. If you're listening, Audemars Piguet, drop. I'll review it. I'll review the watch on the pod.
We'll have Russell Crowe come on.
Send one over. Yeah. Send one over. I'll take a look.
Perfect. Watch talk.
Yes. It's been a while since watch talk. Good. What else we got for Hatch News?
How about eat shit, Elon Musk? He lost
Elon
the
Musk.
OpenAI case. Yes.
He lost the OpenAI case. It's true. Tough one. He lost the OpenAI case because of statute of limitations, which I will confess is slightly unsatisfying. Like I don't understand how. Like, I'm not a lawyer, but I don't really understand how, like, they couldn't have, like, looked at a calendar before they had all these people testify and be like, no, actually, you can't bring this. Like, I don't know why that was a jury decision. I'm sure there's a very straightforward legal explanation as to why that's true. But it was somewhat unsatisfying that it wasn't decided on the merits of the case.
Was my feeling. And again, you know, we talked about not being happy about trying to figure out who to root for.
You talked about that. I was very straightforward that I think it's clear who to root for. It was clear who to root for.
I was always rooting against Elon, so that's clear. There was no question there. But if folks have not listened to Mike Isaac's daily episode yesterday, really fun to hear his blow by blow.
Oh, I didn't know he was on the daily. That's cool.
I'll really great.
Oh, great. Friend
really
of the pod, Mike Isaac.
Check that out. Jason, are you stoked for Mandalorian and Grogu? It's only a couple of days.
No, I'm seeing it on Thursday with my children, which is the only redeeming part of it, is that people are like, it's good for kids. Or at least they say it's a kid's movie. No one actually is saying that kids will enjoy it. They're saying it's a kid's movie. Everyone seems to like believe like that it's it's 3 episodes of The Mandalorian stitched together. And no one seems very excited about it. I've yet to see a single positive thing said. Dave Filoni is a curse. And this is just the world we live in for the next decade plus. There's nothing to be done about it. We're just living Shitsville, and we must accept it. Maybe Ryan Gosling's movie's okay. I even doubt that at this point.
Oh, come on.
I doubt it.
Yo, how about you? How you feeling?
I'm not excited.
Do you watch a show? Are you like?
I watched the show. I was a relative latecomer to the show. I'm a massive Star Wars fan.
Mm-hmm.
Massive, but. You know, I speak with the voice of many when I say I'm lightsabered out at this point.
Yeah,
there's too much.
There's not going to be any fucking lightsabers in this movie.
Well, fair enough. That world is built. It is built, and
yeah.
I mean, I share the trepidation. I'm kind of trying to like keep it really positive. I'm getting a bunch of dads. We're taking the kids. We're going to go over to Emeryville and go check this thing out. So I'm definitely
going to be responsible to those dads for ruining their Saturday afternoon.
You both raise a key point though, because it is a different set of metrics that go into whether a movie that your kids want to watch is above threshold for your time. And I bet this is.
Yeah. Yeah. That is the hope. I mean, look, like I've been watching Zootopia 2 for like weeks on end, like literal weeks of my life to Zootopia 2. And Zootopia 2 is actually pretty good. But like, I don't need to watch it 54 times. And yet I definitely have.
So
And can
change of
sing all the
pace might be
songs.
just what the doctor
Yeah, it might be
ordered.
good. Might be good. Might be good. Yeah.
We will see. All right. Are you guys ready to get into
Let's
this
do it.
movie?
Let's do it.
Almost
Let's do it.
Famous.
All right, here we go. Almost Famous is the magic and the heartbreak that happens when you're this close to fame. In 1973 San Diego, William Miller is an awkward 15-year-old rock music obsessive and freelance journalist working for the underground press, mentored from afar by legendary unhinged rock critic Lester Bangs. But when Rolling Stone calls and sends William on the road for 3 weeks to write a feature on the rising band Stillwater, he will find himself in the middle of the story, falling in love with the music, the band, and the beautiful and mercurial young muse Penny Lane. William will never be the same, but he will capture their journey forever and show the price that must be paid when you're almost famous.
Wow. Really worked in the title well there. That was one of your better ones. That's great.
Good.
I
Excellent.
like the use of mercurial too. There was a lot to admire in the synopsis this week.
Agreed.
Oh,
Concur.
good. I always like it when you enjoy it, Jason.
Yeah.
Yo, what is your history with Almost Famous?
So, and this is, I watched it right when it came out, and it was on heavy rotation in the years afterwards on home release on DVD. I'm about the same age. I was about the same age as William's character when it came out. And I actually,
wow.
I make that point to say, watching it again for the purpose of this podcast with much older eyes, this movie ages, I'm not going to comment whether it ages well or poorly, but it is a different movie depending on where you are relative to the characters in life.
Sure.
And I found that to be a really interesting rewatch.
Huh?
Good.
Okay, good. I look forward to getting into that. And Jason, what about you?
I saw it once when it came out, and didn't remember it. Like, I didn't like dislike it, but it didn't make like a huge impression on me. I knew people liked it a lot. Interesting tidbit. I mentioned last week that Crystal really likes this movie. It's a movie that she has referenced a lot over the years. Like, she'll just like quote line like "Your aura is purple" or "I'm a golden god." She really is like sort of been into it. And so I was like, "Oh, we're doing Almost Famous, that movie that you really like." She's like, "Yeah, I do love that movie." She's like, interesting thing. She walked out of the movie when she saw it the first time. Hated the movie so much that she walked out of the movie, and like in the entire time that we've been going to movie over 20 years, she's never walked out of a movie with me. Like, she's like, I never do that. I was like, holy shit. Walked out of the movie. And it was just like something about like the kid and like the sort of the concept like just didn't work for her. And then she went back and saw it with a different friend like a week later, and was like, so I watched the whole movie and loved it. It was like, oh, I'll give it a chance. I was like, oh, this movie's great. And then saw it like 2 more times in the theater after that. So it's like a real 180 for her, which I've never heard her talk about any other movie this way. So it made it much more interesting to me when I was rewatching it to kind of see like, I wonder what the scene was where she gave up on it. Like, I wonder what like was the part where she's like, oh, fuck this, I'm out.
I can think of a couple candidates, which we'll get into.
Yeah.
Nice. So I watched this. I was 30 when this came out, and watched
age
this,
is 500 years old. That's the important thing.
I watched this in the theater, and then my old dungeon master
senior
Brian
citizen
Mosley
discount to go. They only charge you $4.
Get out of here. So Brian Mosley, who's been on this podcast with us many times, and we watched this a bunch of times on DVD. We used to listen to the soundtrack a bunch. So this was like that moment in 2000, 2001 in San Francisco. That was kind of like an amazing time, right? This is post.com crash.
Right. Everyone went home.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It was like just the true freaks stayed.
Exactly. I mean, literally, you drive around the city and it was empty. Like it wasn't quite as bad as like
terrible.
it got during COVID, but it was real bad.
Yeah. It was bad.
And so this definitely was one, but I literally have not revisited it in 20 years. So it was amazing to pick it back up.
Interesting.
All right.
So good perspective here from
now,
people.
I don't know. There's a faux pas. Am I allowed to throw a question out early?
Sure, of
Go
course.
for it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think a question that will inform all of our reactions, it's important for people to know. what is your guys' relationship to the music of the era?
All right,
This
let me
is
pause you.
a
Hold on,
really
hold on.
good question.
Okay.
Really good
I'm
question.
gonna pause you
Sorry,
because
sorry.
no. It's
You
a
went
great
too
question.
far.
No,
Yes,
we're
you
gonna
can
spend
ask a question, but you will be reprimanded if it is the wrong question.
I'm gonna do the behind the scenes really quick, and then I have a whole segment on music, which I definitely want to spend the time. So you're definitely right. And I can tell you, by the way, spoilers: Jason hates this music. He hates this era. He hates all of it. So he's gonna tell you how much it sucks.
True.
So
That's true.
stay
That's true.
tuned for that.
This is good. This is a really good
All
podcast so far.
All right, so quick behind the
A
scenes.
lot of friction.
Quick behind the scenes. This is a true story about Cameron Crowe. He was 15 years old when Ben Fong Torres at Rolling Stone hired him as the youngest contributor in the magazine's history. He'd been working for Underground Paper since 2013. He did mentor with Lester Bangs, and he was sent on assignment for 3 weeks on the road with the Allman Brothers.
My God.
And we'll get into more details about it when we get into the discussion. But Stillwater is basically a composite of the Allman Brothers, the Eagles, and Led Zeppelin, kind of fusing those together. So just the idea, if like you had done nothing else in your life than at 15 years old, go on tour with the Allman Brothers for 3 weeks and read a cover story for Rolling Stone, like you're already a goat.
You'd be pretty good.
You're pretty good. So it's just an incredible, kind of crazy idea. Also, Penny Lane, based on Penny Lane Trumbull, who was a real person, and a Portland group called the Flying Garter Girls. So there's a lot of very real elements, and there were some questions between her and how Crowe, kind of framed her in this piece. But riding high off Jerry Maguire, which 2 years prior grossed $273 million. He was able to make this movie. It's kind of a tough sell, a teenager, on the road doing this, but there were a couple casting near misses. Brad Pitt was Russell Hammond originally. What do you think? He spent 4 months working on it before he.
Why did it fall through?
He basically said, "I don't understand it enough to do it." At the end of the day.
And where was this in the Pitt career in terms of?
I mean, late 90s, this is, or 2000, this is right around the time of Fight Club, right? This is post Interview with a Vampire. He's definitely peaked and, is taking off.
Right.
Doesn't work.
Interesting.
You don't think so?
Don't
Okay.
think.
Yeah.
I don't think it
Why
works.
do you think? Say more.
One, I think he's just, not that Billy Crudup isn't a good-looking guy. Brad Pitt is too handsome in a specific way to make sense for the feel of that band, I think. And I also think he a lot of folks in this movie, I think, ended up being quite successful and famous. I think but at that time, there'd be some asymmetry with Pitt and the rest of the cast in terms of,
for sure,
just where they were altitude-wise.
Yeah. I think that's very. That's very right. They also considered Christian Bale after he bailed out, and Bale was not huge at that point. Before
Bale could have done it for sure, because Bale can kind of be anything.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Sarah Polley was originally Penny Lane, and she dropped out. Kate Hudson had read for Anita, the sister, and then she ended up getting to read for it and taking it over Natalie Portman, Kirsten Dunst, and Christina Ricci, who all were also close. Basically, the budget of this film, $60 million, which is pretty high for 2000. This is like
but he had that Jerry Maguire. You could get a big check situation.
Correct. Worldwide, 47 million.
What did he have to do to redeem himself after this? How did he escape
Vanilla
jail?
Sky. I think Vanilla Sky was his next one, but
makes sense.
Also in the box office, I was complaining last week about 1997 and how just like nothing worked for me that was in the list. 2000, Bring It On. It's good. The Cell, The Watcher,
I love The Cell.
And Highlander Endgame.
Highlander Endgame's tough. That's a tough one if you're putting that in the list of like notable films from the year.
This is not great. Like that is not a great list of movies at the box office.
No,
September 2000. We were in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, now yo, where do you want to start? You want to start with the music?
You know what? I've been appropriately chastened. I'm going to let you take the lead on first.
Said,
No,
Joe will say nothing less.
I think we got to start with the music. Where we
Let's
all
do
are
start
on the
with
music.
go back to your question of like whether or not
I think we should all situate ourselves as to,
Yeah.
are we fans of early 70s rock, and what is each of our musical background?
You first.
Yeah, speak for
Test
yourself.
the waters.
I was hoping you'd say that. So in terms of musical background, I have been in 2 bands, and bands are probably generous terms for what we were, but I have been a part of 2 groups that at one point in time called themselves a band.
Yeah.
Ska bands?
No.
Not ska. Okay.
One was a Beatles
New
cover
metal?
band, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
I did not make the world's most convincing Paul McCartnney
Okay.
Okay.
And another band just kind of played, sort of classic rock 40, top 40 type stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I appreciated seeing, there's sort of like certain
What's your
pathologies.
instrument? Sorry, what's your instrument?
I am a very mediocre guitar and bass player. So sort of in the first band I played guitar, and the second band I played bass. It was sort of needs of the band. But it gave me an appreciation. There's certain pathologies that are not universal, but kind of you can pattern recognize in band dynamics. It was really fun to, I think they captured
perfectly
pretty well. And then look, this is actually a little bit of I like the music of this period, but it's in a little bit of a dead zone for me in terms of I'm a big fan of basically all top 40 genre type music of the 60s. I'm a big Beatles fan. I'm a big Motown fan. I got to be a fan of kind of more mid 70s and late 70s rock. This falls in this transition period that I have a lot of things I like, but it's not it's not a top couple years for me musically.
I think if I was trying to figure it out yesterday, and I think 64 to 73 is probably the greatest decade of rock and roll music that has ever, of any kind of music that has ever existed. Like I would
stand with you on that.
You have from the Beatles at the beginning in 64, you got like Revolver, I think maybe, or Rubber Soul, through the rest of the Beatles and through into Zeppelin and through Dark Side of the Moon. Like you just take those you can never touch that. I don't care how many bands are invented or how many synthesizers Joy Division has. Like you'll never top that.
Shots fired.
Period.
Jesus.
Ever.
And what I think is even more extraordinary about that, because I agree with you when it comes to rock, I think you can make a damn good case that the same was true for R&B against that exact same time period. It's wild. Sure. It's just such a generative musical era.
The part that I'll agree with, like, so I am not, similar to Johannes, like I was raised on the Beatles and Motown because that's what my mom loves. And so I listen to a ton, I listened, like, there's never a time where I didn't know the Beatles. There's never a time in which I didn't know Motown. Like when in that scene, if we ever do The Big Chill, like where the kid's being sung to, Jeremiah was a bullfrog in the bathtub, like that was like, my mom says that she invented that basically. She's like, they stole that from me somehow. It's like, all right, I don't know. But the whole Big Chill era of music, very, very fundamental to like that is what I knew of, with the caveat that the other thing I knew a lot of from a young age was like show tunes, like Elton John / show tunes, like a lot of like, Barbra Streisand, a lot of Sondheim, because we also listen to that for whatever reason. Anyway, so I share Johannes's roots. I also share the sentiment that like this period of rock and roll music from the standpoint of like kind of America, we've talked about this before with Ben, like America projects power through its cultural influence. Like that's definitely true in movies, and like no era was it more true of music than this. Like it really was just like, okay, we're gonna rewrite like the rest of the world in terms of what they want to listen to. And that's like why you end up having British bands who want to sound like black musicians. And so it's hugely important in the history of music. That said, like the classic rock era, like the 70s era, like just never really spoke to me. Like for whatever, I never grew up listening to Zeppelin. I sort of appreciate Zeppelin as a thing that happened. It's just like never the thing that I reach for. And all of that's kind of, like blue-eyed rock, R&B, soul, whatever you want to call it, that like was like, that southern rock style, like just doesn't speak to me in any way. And for me, as listeners will know, like for me, like until they start adding the beeps and boops in the music, like that's what I personally get interested. As soon as they figured out how to make computers make a drum track, then I'm like, okay, we're back. You've figured something out. So I my interests lie like about 10 years beyond this. But I do like in the movie, like when Lester Bang like says like, oh, like, you miss it. Rock and roll is dead, which was something that people would say for the next 30 years. You kind of do feel where he's coming from, because it is like sort of this is the peak of its influence globally. It will never be better than this. So I stand with you on those points.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. There's something. It's the delta V of that period is what is interesting to me. Like how far music went, and it was like largely driven by the Beatles and what their particular set of experimental stuff, and not just the musical elements, but the social elements that they fused with that, and getting the entire world to be like, whoa, do we need to open up our consciousness now and expand ourselves to Eastern, philosophies and stuff? It's just like,
I mean, people were also doing a lot of drugs. This ties back to like one of my favorite pet theories, which we've talked about before, which is like an era can often be defined by the pathology of its most popular narcotic. And so like, definitely everyone was smoking grass, and everyone was like, then people started doing acid, and you definitely see the influence of that on the culture. And like even people who weren't into those drugs, like it was influencing the music because it was just sort of in the atmosphere. The counter to that is that like the current era, at least in Silicon Valley, SF, is so heavily influenced by the amount of ketamine that's being taken out here, that you really are starting to see like the pathology of that particular addiction in the type of culture that's being created. So I do think there's something to this idea of like what is the drug that people were doing, and how does that influence like the era that they're in.
I think that's right. So back to the soundtrack, $3.5 million in the music budget. The music supervisor was Danny Bramson. So that's double the average. About 1.5 million is a typical amount. So they got 50 plus licensed songs. Led Zeppelin granted permission for 4 songs. And it was the first time they'd allowed anything to be used since Kashmir was used in Cameron Crowe's Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which we did a couple months ago. They did say no to Stairway to Heaven, even though Crowe flew to London to try and screen the film for them to try and get it. And apparently he did a thing on a bootleg DVD where he gave a viewer cue wall mark to let you know when you were supposed to start the song.
Weird.
But the Alvin and the Chipmunks thing at the beginning, that's in the Christmas songbook, Jason. Simon and Garfunkel's America, The Who, Iggy Pop, Led Zeppelin. Like it's
Simon
incredible.
and Garfunkel is a real standout for me. As I think I've mentioned before, there was a period of time when I was on the high school debate team where my hype up music was listening to the best of Simon and Garfunkel. I would go off in the corner and just and listen to the boxer or whatever and get hype. So I definitely resonate with that.
The idea, I mean, it definitely brought a smile to my face. The idea that they could be objectionable,
totally,
to apparent sensibilities was something.
They're like, they seem like so safe. Yeah,
yes. Pretty wholesome. So then the other thing that is definitely worth calling out is the score. So we've been talking about the soundtrack, but the score is actually very good as well. And this is by Nancy Wilson, who was Crowe's wife at the time, and she's half of the band Heart with her sister Anne.
Oh right.
Yeah, and so she did Jerry Maguire, she did Almost Famous, Vanilla Sky, and Elizabethtown. So she did his movies there. But this is super interesting. They're using acoustic guitar and kind of like rock and roll instrumentations, and then also some kind of like mellower type stuff. But it really flows when you're going back and forth between the soundtrack and a rock, kind of like guitar and drums and bass and keyboard, as opposed to if it had been strings and orchestra and all that stuff, that would have been, kind of really jarring. So I thought that was extremely effective what they did there.
Yep, I agree.
Agreed.
The last piece I'll call out is that the band Stillwater.
I was going to ask about this.
We're going to talk about these guys. So first of all, their big song, Fever Dog, which I sang last episode briefly, is credited to Russell Hammond. It was actually in the credits, but it was actually written by Cameron Crowe and Nancy Wilson. And the guitar was played by Mike McCready from Pearl Jam, who played all the guitar portions that you saw in the movie.
That's fun.
And recorded that song. So they also had Peter Frampton, who coached the actors in Rock School, for how to move like a band and how to do their stuff. So very it really worked. And especially I love Jason Lee as Jason Lee as Jeff Beebe, and the conflict with him and Russell was just so awesome.
Yeah,
great.
Love that.
It was great. I just loved it. Just permanently aggrieved, character.
Yeah.
Just fantastic.
He's wearing a t-shirt with his own face on it. It's like very, very classic. All right, Jason, where do you want to start, buddy? What's your first point?
I guess I'll start with I'll start with the Frances McDormand. First of all, just like a general note, like I was shocked because they have this like handwritten credit sequence, and I was shocked by who was in the movie. Like I'd forgotten that like Phyllis Seymour Hoffman was in the movie, who obviously is beloved. I forgot that Frances McDormand was in the movie. Literally everyone who was listed except for Kate Hudson. I was like, oh wow, they're in this fucking movie too. Like I remember Billy Crudup and
but what about like the pencil writing?
Shocked.
The pencil writing and erasing and stuff, like those credits were incredible.
Some of the best
credits. Twee.
Oh no!
What?
Great credits.
Oh my
Great
God!
Credits.
What?
Great credits.
I thought it was a little twee. It went on for a while. I was like, okay, I get
wow.
it. He's writing the credits by hand. I get it. I know what you're saying.
God, you are so dead inside. I swear. It's tough.
I'm not dead inside. Well, just to counter that point, I am old. And so like the point about Frances McDormand was like, I had just tremendous empathy for Frances McDormand. Like I really was like sort of seeing Frances McDormand as like the protagonist of this movie. I was like, you know, like how would you sort of like look at this parenting struggle of like you somehow your first daughter wants to go away and be a druggie or something, like, it just seems bad. And now your second kid, who, you made some parenting mistakes with the terms of not telling them their real age, but like now is like wants to, run away and join the circus essentially. And like all of the things that she's worried about happening, like, sex, drugs, and rock and roll are definitely happening. So it's not like she's wrong to worry about these things. So yeah, she ends up sort of meeting her kids where they are. Like she moves a lot more to meet her kids than her kids move to meet her. And I felt that was, so I ended up just really kind of identifying with Frances and the mom character in this movie.
I assume, that was your trajectory, right? You went from relating to the kid to relating to the mom.
That's 100% right. I mean, it's the first time I've watched it as a parent, but I think even had I not been a parent, my memory of this movie, I think because I watched it as a teenager, the deepest impressions are sort of Act 1 and like to the middle of Act 2, basically to the bus ride with Tiny Dancer. The sort of wish fulfillment chunk of it. And I sort of forgot how dark the second half of the movie gets at certain moments. And how prophetic the mother's warnings at the beginning proved to be. I totally found her way more sympathetic than I had any recollection of. And importantly, every other character at some point goes off on, I think this is invariably true, goes off on a rant that sort of, it is their pseudo philosophy, but it exposes them for ultimately being either young or, naive or some combination thereof. Her monologues kind of stand up.
Hold up. Yeah, that's a really good observation. That's a really good observation. Yeah, everyone else's monologues about like being, wanting to be with authentic people or like true to the music or whatever else is like that all ends up being bullshit to some degree. None of her stuff is really bullshit. Like, and she's and also like I'd forget she's like a smart and interesting professor who like is like educated and like has like interesting ideas about Jung and like whatever else. It's not like she's just some like square who like whatever doesn't want the world to change. Like she's an interesting person. She's an interesting three-dimensional person. And she's navigating this like time of tremendous societal change. And a very precocious child who is legitimately being both figuratively and literally deflowered by like the time in which he lives and the adventure he's going on, and like knowing that this is a stand-in for the Allman Brothers and Led Zeppelin, which is like like real Cameron Crowe was going, and that's like the most notorious like roadie stories in the history of rock and roll. Like the most ridiculous shit happened on those tours. Like it is in fact like insane that a 15-year-old would be in it.
Totally.
Like
Totally.
Insane to the point of criminal that like a 15-year-old would be in that environment, and like she has every reason to be concerned.
Yes, and actually
sure.
The one critique I would levy at her is when you watch it as a younger person, your critique is she's sort of the antagonist of the first half of the movie.
Right.
She's trying to kind of hold it back. Now I'm like, how could you have let him go?
How could you let? Yeah, you had to go find him. Yeah, you had to go get him back. Like horrible things were happening.
The thing that I like the most about her character is the fact that her expectations are high for everyone, right? Both for herself and for her son. But then also she finds something to push for everybody that she talks to. Like one of my favorite lines is the guy at the front desk at the hotel. Your mom called. She freaked me out.
Yeah.
Like, but even like her conversation with Russell is so great. She says, I didn't ask for this role, but I'll play it. Now go do your best. Yeah. Be bold and mighty forces will come to your aid. Goethe said that. It's not too late for you to become a person of substance, Russell.
Yeah,
like,
it's really good.
Wow.
I love that. I love the Goethe quote. Like it was, or was it real? I forget whatever it was. Like be bold and mighty forces will come to your aid. It's so good.
Really strong. And also you have the factor that her husband just died of a heart attack, right? So she is in herself impacted and kind of trying to figure out how to survive. And there's no question that she's making big mistakes, but there's also no question that she is trying to inspire her kids. And I love her. She's kind of perfect for this role, right? This is
she does a great job. Great job.
I mean, she's perfect in everything. I mean, she's just really amazing as an actress. And yeah, she's just fantastic in this. Loved her part. That was my first point.
Amazing. All right, I'm going to do my first point, which is, of course, Penny Lane. Kate Hudson. Exactly. Kate Hudson is instantly iconic in this role. Like it is unbelievable from the moment she comes on screen, and even like there's the little bit of stuff up at the top of the ramp before she helps him get in. But there's the scene of her and Crudup when they're first connecting, her and Russell, and there's no dialogue. It's just them kind of moving and being together. Like every shot of her in this film, it is like pure magic because you see the artifice that she's putting on, but it's like, it's so seductive. Like her ability to project this image of confidence and power and mystique and mercurial, nature is, oh man, it's just really, really fantastic.
It is good. And I definitely noted that scene where she meets Crudup and like has like sort of like, it seems like a MDMA like experience, like shaking his hand or whatever. Like she really like kind of, she's really feeling it. I definitely noted that. What did you think about the Kate Hudson role?
It's a great performance. Full stop. I will say, and I won't hit this note too often, but she's another one that where you are in life when you watch it really determines how you interpret it. Watching this movie where she is older than my vantage point, I was probably more credulous as to how much of her was that artifice and how much of that, or how much of that was artifice versus kind of, she is a mysterious kind of from a 15-year-old's vantage point, she is a mysterious older
100%, yeah.
person. Watching it being, much older than the character now, it's heartbreaking from kind of the get-go. The pathos
It
is
is
just, I mean, it's just,
It is also this thing I just couldn't help but like sort of be like, there was this moment in like the 90s, in the 90s, like till 2000, where like, you put this next to like The Professional, where like the sexualization of 15-year-olds was like kind of just like, yeah, no, we're okay with that for like like that's on the table for right now. And it just feels like there's no way that would happen now. Like there's just
No
no
way.
like there's zero chance. Even putting the Kate Hudson aside, there's zero chance that you would have the Cameron Crowe character having sex in film at 15. Not
Zero.
the sex scene isn't shown, but it's it's a key point of the movie. Yeah, there's just no chance that happens now.
It's interesting in Cameron Crowe's, he wrote an autobiography recently called Uncool, and he basically confirms that scene was essentially true to life. He does so without commentary and without opining on its impact on him. But
well, it's his life. It's different for him to like kind of.
No, but I think your point's 100% right. That was jarring to see through today's eyes.
Yeah,
that was definitely tough. Although I will say the cinematography of that scene, the slow motion, and then the coming in and just his eyes and her eyes, and then her walking out, it was so beautifully shot. But to me, it was not. I mean, to me, my favorite scene of her in this film is the scene after he's confronted her about being traded for, $50 and a case of beer. And the way she stands there with the tear rolling down her face and then wipes it and smiles. It's just like, that is cinema, man. Like that is an absolutely will forever be burned in my mind as just an image of kind of your dreams and your reality running up against, running into each other, and how you continue to persevere and find a way to keep going. I found that very powerful.
I'm curious your guys' take. What was your reaction to? First of all, I fully agree with that. I mean, her acting in that moment, the shot, her line about what kind of beer, the whole package.
What kind of beer? Yeah.
What kind of beer is so good?
Just breaks your heart. It's
yeah.
What was your reaction when she first brought up Morocco?
I always thought it was totally fake. Yeah.
I thought it reminded, for some reason, the first thing that came to mind was like the Anna Delvey, documentary. Like I was just like, oh, it's like, she just seemed like she's living in a fantasy world of like scams and like, delusion or whatever. I didn't feel it was a possible thing that she was going to do.
Same. So I certainly didn't think it was possible, but to me it was, and I don't remember this from watching it in the 2000s. To me, it was just like, kind of to your point, Jason, but from a different angle, blinking red lights, like something, she is going through something. Like this is.
Yeah, she's running far. She's running far from something. Yeah, totally.
Never anticipated that she would actually go to Morocco, right? Like, so like to me, that was the one thing that felt, when I watched it this time, that felt not right. I was like,
agreed.
I don't think she's actually making it to Morocco. Although you do have that incredible shot of coming back, the hand coming back for the sunglasses, which is just also beautiful.
I didn't like that.
Well, in general, the movie kind of has like it kind of, I mean, like, I guess, it's a historical fact that like the piece got published or whatever. I don't know the degree to which like, there was like, the band initially denied it.
We're going to get into it. We'll get into it.
But structurally the movie kind of has like two endings. There's like sort of the bummer ending, and then there's the like, oh, actually it's all going to work out fine ending. And like it becomes a little too neat for everyone to have their happy ending in this. For me,
I'm not sure what version I watched, so this is another question that came up last night during the Chuckle Hut, because apparently there's a director's cut, and I was like, our movies are never streaming for free, even though I pay for all of the streaming services, and I was shocked that this was available in 4K on Paramount Plus. So I was like, okay, great, I don't have to spend $18 to buy it or whatever. And it was 2 hours and 4 minutes, and it felt a little bit. I think. Yeah, it felt a little bit long, a little bit longer to me, but I couldn't quite tell. So I don't know. What is your next point, Yo?
So I think some of my favorite parts of this movie are it sort of the brief background on William's life, like those opening shots that establish you in California. I think those are, great, quick establishing shots. But
Oh
that
my God, the
sequence where
surf shops and
yes,
stuff, like,
yes,
yeah,
yes,
it's
like
so
it,
cool.
it gives you time and place very efficiently. I
Yes.
appreciated that. But then when we got into him as, I think this is critical for the movie. When we get into him having been skipped 2 years ahead,
Right.
um, I
Oh, is
think this.
it in front of the mirror? Like,
No,
with
but
all the guys?
when he's in the car and the mom's
In
like,
the
"You're
car,
actually
the mom
11,"
admits
and he's
it.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
screams 11.
I'm
Yeah.
11. Yeah.
First of all, I find that I thought it was hilarious,
I thought that was
but
so funny.
but this movie only works if, unfortunately, the way, thankfully, it's it is autobiographical on Crowe's part. But this movie only works if you buy into William's needs, like if you buy into the fact that they're, because it's really easy to just be jealous of that character. He gets to
Totally.
spend the
Yeah.
first half of the movie living this amazing wish fulfillment, and to
Yeah.
really ground him in being a little bit of an outcast, needing a tribe. I thought they did that really efficiently and effectively.
I agree with this. I think they did. I think it's partly the actor does a good job. I will say I bumped on this, and we've talked about this before with various sort of like teenage movies where I was like,
Too
wow,
plucky?
like not. It's just like this doesn't seem too fucking bad to me. Like like this whole this whole conceit of Cameron Crowe's like autobiography being like never cool or whatever. I'm like, I don't know, fucking know. It seems pretty fucking cool to me. Like I was on the debate team, my guy. Like have you tried that?
Yeah.
Like that's I wasn't writing about music for like underground magazines. Like I don't know why. I don't know how you determine that is uncool.
You were not dating Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Like none of these things happened to me. And so I did bump on that a little bit. But like I do think that the idea specifically of being lied to about how old you are is quite a cross to bear.
I also like that idea of he is confident, right? So he has a core that he's ready to go for it, and he is trying to make it, even though he doesn't always have complete confidence in himself. His default, I think, is leaning forward, which I appreciated. So my next big point is just sticking with William, but Russell and William and their relationship. So let's just talk about them. So first of all, Crudup, I think this is the first time I'd ever seen him. And I thought he was absolutely amazing in this role. That idea of somebody who is realizing that they're bigger than, maybe what they're involved in, or they're going to be the forefront center of gravity, but maybe they have to fight for that on a regular basis. That's just an interesting piece. But Patrick Fugit was 15 years old when he was cast, and he was 16 during shooting, which is just bananas.
Pretty nuts.
Yeah. And so
they
apparently
put a lot,
he was.
They put a lot on that kid.
They put a lot on, and I don't think he worked 100% of the time. There were a few
Agreed.
moments that I thought were a little strained. But I think through the crux of it, it was the two of them. The scene after the plane ride, when they have had all the conflict and everything has been revealed of how fragile and how, damaged everybody is. And the way like Russell turns around as they're walking through the airport, and the look between them and the obvious love for each other as friends, and just the caring. And that's Russell comes back and says, just tell the truth, print whatever you want. Like, amazing to have that bond forged between the two of them. And to me, that's really the heart of the movie.
Was Patrick Fugit done after this? What's the history of Patrick Fugit in Hollywood?
I'm pretty sure he had a tough time.
Tough road after being in this bomb.
Yeah, I think he was maybe he's maybe in the X-Files movie or something.
All right. Listen, it doesn't always work out. Doesn't always work out.
No. I think he's one of those guys who had a tough time after the early thing here.
To your point about the centrality of their dynamic to the movie, one of the things when I was reading the book that I didn't appreciate is that Cameron Crowe's unfortunately named father, Jim Crowe, was alive during this. They killed him off in the movie.
Oh.
I think to establish like the need for, or to further establish the need for that big brother figure in his life. It would be my guess as to why, but he was around for all this.
Interesting.
That's wild. So, Jason, to your point earlier, the story was spiked. So originally, he struggled to get Greg Allman to sit for the real interview until the very last day of their 3-week tour. And then Allman got super paranoid. I wonder why. Drugs. Accused Crowe of being a cop, confiscated his tapes, then mailed them back with an apology note that itself had the confessions that saved the piece.
Wow.
Later refused to confirm the story to fact checkers before ultimately relenting. So this is really what happened.
A complicated story.
And it was the cover on the cover of the Rolling Stone.
How's this piece? Is it good? Like, has anyone read this thing? Like, what did he have to say about the Allman Brothers?
I don't know, dude, but how about Ben Fong Torres?
He's great. He's great. He's great. That actor fucking shows up and does a job, man. He's great.
Hell yeah.
He's great.
Really good.
Love that guy.
Love that guy.
Yeah.
Jason,
are there any Allman Brothers in the Campfire Songbook, H?
I don't think so. I might have had Sweet Melissa in there at one point. That's a pretty good one.
It's a big oversight. Big oversight is what I'm hearing.
Acoustic banger. All right. What is your next point, Jason?
I wanted to talk about, there's this whole thing that happens where he shows up as the journalist and the band's reaction is that he's the enemy. And there's this whole kind of like, very Gen X sort of thesis statement of like, never sell out, basically, right? Like of just like, you should be doing it for the love of the music and like because you love this transcendent like artistic experience, and all the stuff that's happens around it is bullshit, and the fact that it has to be a business is a bullshit, and like like that all of that stuff just like takes away from the purity of the musical experience. And obviously like the movie is in dialogue with that idea as I presented, like because it's like it's shown that they're actually kind of stoked about blowing up as well, but like there's specifically this thing of like like somehow the attention is wrong, and I feel like that whole notion is just so gone in culture. Like there's no one has ever just like, you shouldn't blow up, you shouldn't sell out. It's really just like, how fucking quick can I sell out? How much? Because like attention has become the only currency that matters. So it's just like, how can I get the most attention possible? Like if I'm going to be doing something, like someone should be paying attention to it. Obviously we're talking about this movie on a podcast, so like we are part of that system as well, but like it really is.
Speak for yourself. I do this for
you do this for just for the love,
for the love of the game.
That's right. Love of the really for the vibe coding opportunities it presents.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that's like an interesting sort of cultural shift, like that like just isn't really legible from a modern perspective in any way.
Totally. That feels dark. Like it's a bummer that like you don't. There's no one would consider saying that, right? Like they're just like,
it might be dark. Yeah, it might be unfortunate that like that selling out and figuring out a way to monetize as quickly as possible is just like sort of understood to be like not only acceptable, but in fact like the only path that you can you can have available to you.
Yo, what about Tiny Dancer, man? What about the Tiny Dancer?
This is my third point.
You called it out. Yeah. Like, so DreamWorks did not want, they told Crowe to cut it. They said it wasn't moving the plot. They didn't care about it. They were behind schedule. He spent 2 days shooting it anyways and called it the soul of the movie.
So, look, I probably, this will win the award for least original thought of the pod for me at least. I loved it. It is. Yeah. I think Crowe has from my vantage point, has the right characterization of it. I think in some ways it does provide, to my point earlier, it is from my memory that thinks of this as a largely positive movie, that is the break point at which the direction of travel sort of trends to a lot more conflict and ultimately than the resolution. I don't know if this is apocryphal. I heard this at some point that Tiny Dancer wasn't even it has been elevated in the Elton John canon as a result of this movie.
Oh, interesting.
That
It
he gets a lot more
stalled at
requests.
number 41 on the Billboard charts in
Exactly.
1971, and it was not included on his 1975 greatest hits.
Wow.
Which is crazy to our sensibilities now.
That is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
True. How
True.
he feels about that.
But there's
He's
something
totally
so strong about this idea. So this is after the Russell having his big night out and doing acid. Please stop giving him acid. But him coming back on the bus, and all the tensions are still there. They've just had the big fight over the T-shirt and the direction of the band. And in that moment, the power of music trumps all emotion, trumps everybody, and they are all brought together in a pure moment of healing. It doesn't solve everything indefinitely, but it just does really so effectively convey how music can act, and I love that.
I
also think
pretty strong as a thesis statement for the movie. It does pretty well to like kind of establish like in one scene, like this is what the movie's about.
I think that's right. And I also think, I think it does a lot of work to keep the band's dynamics from being too dimensional. Cause I think, like any group, any team, any set of founders, there's days I'm sure they loved each other, hated each other, or somewhere in between. You know, you read Beatles biographies and you can see all sorts of different. They're all horribly conflicted about how they feel about one another. And I think that moment did a nice job in relief to the fight and in relief to the plane scene of giving you, a harmonious, no pun intended, harmonious few minutes.
I love that. Also, the line when he says, I've got to go home, and she says, you are home. That was improvised by
Really?
Wow. Yeah.
Pretty strong. Pretty strong.
Great improvisation.
Great work, Kate Hudson.
Apparently, Patrick Fugit was the worst singer on the bus, and so Crowe lowered his volume in post.
There were a lot of good singers, though. There were some good singers in that scene. One other thing I'll say about this scene, this was my third point too, is that I feel it validates my thesis about the rock era kind of sucking, because like the transformative song is an Elton John like sort of it's essentially a musical theater piece. Like I mean, it's like an interesting thing is that like the music of Billy Joel and Elton John, which are like two of the formative artists for me, I listen to a lot because of my parents. Like a lot of their numbers are indistinguishable from like a theatrical musical number. Like they're song stories that are very orchestrated and like are narrative in nature and are like I don't know, I guess it technically involves like rhythm and blues, but like it's unclear why this is a rock and roll song in any way. So yeah, that's my other point about this scene.
It is insane that Billy Joel was not included on that best 30 songwriters.
Sure. Yeah, really ridiculous. Really ridiculous.
They fucked it on that one.
I mean that thing was just designed. Again, it was just designed to get people mad, I think, is my take.
Get people mad. Yeah. What did you guys think about Philip Seymour Hoffman?
He's never bad at anything.
Yeah. I mean, he delivers the moment when that little, this is partially his acting and partially the dialogue when he says he doesn't have all day to stick around and talk to as many fans. And then they cut to them, presumably hours later at a pancake shop. I thought that was, I thought he was excellent, but I will say this is potentially sort of heterodox. I think I found Lester Bangs as a character not compelling at all this rewatch.
Interesting.
Like a little abusive is too strong a word, but grounding a 15-year-old through late night phone calls in like the reality of the limits of his situation strikes me as like a deeply unsympathetic set of actions that he took. You and I, a 25-year-old on the phone with a 15-year-old saying, look, neither of us are ever going to be cool. That's just not...
Yeah. The only true currency in this bankrupt world is what you share with someone else when you're uncool.
Yeah. I didn't buy. I was like, it's Lester Bangs. How is he uncool? Like he's like he's a cultural icon, first of all. And then And there is something like, yeah, there is something pretty like, again, it's like sort of predicated on this like us versus them. Like there's the critics code and then there's like the artists doing their bit of it. It was like, I don't know. It feels like a little like
It was. I really like though how he kind of like from the it really struck me this time from the very first conversation. He's like, do not become friends with them. That like they're going to give you kind of like make you feel cool. That'll be the drink that they offer you. Don't take
Yeah.
it, and you just have to be ruthless, ruthlessly honest as you're doing it. I thought was nice to see.
But that being said, like we would be friends with Tony Gilroy and Denis Villeneuve, right? I mean, like we would we like there's not a world in which like we would just be like, you know, it's like, okay, like, you know, they want to talk to us for the pod or whatever, we would be like, well, here's a sober-eyed take on like, you know, the shortcomings of like your thing or whatever. I just don't know if that's I don't think we're in that, but I just, and like not just us, but I feel like in general, like there obviously still is film criticism, but in general, I feel that is not the. I just don't feel. I just don't think that like idea has much purchase in the contemporary media environment. What do you think, though?
I think that I think there's something to that. I just can't get over. Look, I don't think this is Crowe's intent. I think Crowe is intending to probably eulogize a mentor in Lester Bangs who was, you know, dead by the time. But the effect I think this characterization had, at least for me, was in a weird way he was of a kind with Jason Lee, in that you had these 20-somethings pontificating and waxing poetic about, you know, their worldviews in ways that are just they're sort of imbued with the confidence of youth in ways that you can both kind of admire, but also roll your eyes at, particularly in relief to our first set of points to Frances McDormand's character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
I think that's right. I think Frances ends up, compared to both like Lester Bangs, who's like clearly meant to be a hero of the story, let alone to like the protagonist, who's also like, you know, obviously having to find his way through things. Like, you know, like she's the one that doesn't have to kind of go back and you don't have to like squint at what she really believes to kind of understand like her core in this movie. Frances McDormand, it's really her story. That's the point. I mean,
she's amazing. I was also really stoked as a Jason Lee. Like I was so Jason Lee pilled at that point. Going back to Mallrats, you know, on DVD when it first came out, and then Chasing Amy and Dogma, and like I was all about Jason Lee. And apparently he now is like kind of somewhat of a recluse, but is open to camera shop in Eagle Rock. And
that's fun.
That's what he's up to these days.
I do want to shout out. Way to dox him now that like he's trying to have some privacy. And his camera shop is located at.
There's a big profile in the Times on him or somewhere. Someone was writing something. I just want to shout out John Toll, Toll, who was the cinematographer for this film, because I thought it was really gorgeous, really, really well shot. He did Legends of the Fall, Braveheart, Thin Red Line, Last Samurai, Cloud Atlas, Iron Man 3, and then he did Billy Lynn's long halftime walk in Gemini Man with Ang Lee, like his crazy high frame rate movies.
That's pretty good. That's pretty strong.
Quite a resume. Anything any honorable mentions or anything you want to make sure we hit?
Well, one thing I'll throw out there that just really struck me watching this is this is this rhymes with something that Jason said earlier. You're just this feels very pre-celebrity industrial complex. The proximity between fans and these still mega stars, you know, world famous stars, the fact that a fan could reasonably expect to camp out and see Bowie in an elevator, you know, it's hard to imagine today. Hard to imagine that you don't have an entire cadre of handlers and security and, you know, blah blah. And
Jay Baruchel as the autistic kid with the t-shirts, getting his t-shirts signed, was great. I felt nostalgic for the idea that, you know, a determined enough fan could meet their hero, could, you know,
without having the benefit of mega bucks or mega access, could have some kind of communion with their heroes. And I think weirdly, from I won't pretend to have an encyclopedic knowledge of rock autobiographies, but when you read folks from this period, this seems like it was true to life. Like you had people just show up at hotels and show up outside of shows and know these guys.
Yeah. Well, and like in the era before the cell phone, like the coordinative costs are so high that it's like, well, that one person knows, but it's not like they can call everyone and everyone's going to be there in a minute. Or
Totally.
there's not like a paparazzi complex in the same way. There's like no TMZ. Like it's a very different thing. I think it's like both like the celebrities like in person were closer, like you were able to kind of like, you're able to get closer to them. And like, yet also they were more remote because there just was less media about celebrity culture. And
very
so
true.
like, if you really wanted to like, you couldn't just go watch the YouTubes of your favorite band. Like you had to wait for them to, show up or go on the Ed Sullivan Show or whatever. Like it was a very different environment for musicians.
This was though one of.
Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just gonna say this is one of the interesting things about Twitter, right? About early Twitter days, the notion that you could DM people or you could tweet mention at people and people would respond, and like you'd be like, "Holy shit!" Whoever responded to me.
Yeah.
That was kind of an amazing thing of bringing artists closer to their fans.
It was
I think we've lost.
It was the flattening of culture, like we've lost in some ways.
Shout out Eastern Airlines for my honorable mentions. That was my airline growing up in Florida. That one was really good. How about East Coast? They went bankrupt. How about lock the gates? Dude, I've heard that 300 times at least. Amazing. I didn't realize Maron was actually in the movie, as the promoter.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So
Jimmy Fallon was like another one that like, I was like, it seems totally incongruous that he's in the movie. Like, it's just so strange.
And he was decent. Yeah. I love his confession.
I thought he did his job.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was good.
I thought he did his job. Now, I hate to put a negative in the sort of the close, but my God, the OD scene there was elements of it that were powerful and elements that were Williams kissing her passed out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes, so first of all, obviously that's horrible, horrific. It also made no narrative sense, I would argue. It sort of, it was an odd choice for Crowe. And I don't think it was I don't think he was depicting a scene that happened in any real way. So I didn't understand that.
It didn't help.
It was also filmed like somewhat like dreamily or something. It was like there was like a degree of like kind of like they really kind of drew. It was somewhat of a languid intubation and expurgation scene. Like there was like a degree of like sort of like dreamy slowness to it.
He's smiling.
Yeah, as Marjorie Amore plays, right? Stevie Wonder is serenading. Like it's there is something about like he is so in love with this woman that even with all of this going on does not matter. He just so there's that to me was what I took away from it. Just like the love that he has is very childlike and unlimited. The infatuation runs deep. Well, speaking of infatuation, running deep. Tilda Swinton, who would she play? If you had to recast one role, who would it be?
Oh my God, she could do so many roles so well. I think she'd be an excellent manager. I think she turns that role into a little something different. She turns that role into a little something different.
The first manager, the British.
The first manager. Yeah. I think she does a great job.
He's in Harry Potter, right? That guy, Noah Tawley or something. I forget what his name is, but I think he's been in the Harry Potter movies or whatever. That guy's been in a ton of stuff. Nice. That was exactly okay. I got to come up with another call. Jason, what do you think?
I guess in the Frances McDormand part, I would sort of be interested in seeing because, like, I think she would do something interesting there. Like, yeah, I don't know. That would be my guess.
I guess I mean, what would what if she was William? What if she was the lead? Like let's see her
Sure,
a young Tilda
love
on the
that.
road. Like
Baby
I wonder
Tilda.
what's her first movie? I don't even know. Like how old
She was
when
in
she
weird
first...
like fucking art shit before
Yeah.
she was even in like anything.
Orlando was like the breakout. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think she was in like she was doing really weird experimental films before she was doing anything that was.
I just love to see Tilda at 18 playing 15, doing that. I think would be interesting.
Yeah,
guys, we did it. Can we do some quick letters?
Quick letters. Let's go.
Right, here we go. Here is our first letter. Mr. Java.
Great.
Here we go, Java.
Hello, gentlemen. This is Mr. Java. We had a bit of technical issue and a time crunch, so no song this week, but know that it would have been amazing.
Yeah.
But here's a real question for you. I do love this movie. So what's a song that you would play in lieu of a conversation? And also, what song would your kids play to let you know they were leaving? I love that song America by Simon and Garfunkel. It's a crazy scene. Awesome work. So until next week, maybe, baby.
I love that he's got a little soundtrack with him. Love that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay, what would a song be that would replace a conversation?
It's hard for me to think of any songs except for what is on like heavy rotation right now.
Agine de Poitrine.
Agine de Poitrine is still kicking it. Junie requests that most mornings.
Mike Isaac just posted their tickets were going on sale at the Fox, and there were 150,000 people in the queue to purchase tickets.
Yeah, it's going to be, I mean, I don't go see fun things anymore, so I have no interest in lining up for that. But I'm thinking more of like, we were playing Taylor Swift's Opalite, but the Bongo Cat version this morning. Also Zoo from Zootopia 2, the Bongo Cat version. That's what I would play. You can insert a sample here. Zoo by Bongo Cat. The Zoo,
perfect.
The cover of the Shakira song. Meow 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 meow. Meow 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 meow. Meow 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 meow. As my kids walk out the door, that's what I would choose.
That's how they would announce they're leaving. Okay. Yeah. What about you?
This is going to be a callback to an episode you guys did that I thought was fantastic. I would play La Mer by Julio Iglesias, which famously featured at Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. I would do it as a bit of misdirection.
Oh,
okay.
When I knew something that the other person didn't know I knew. And then to the question of what songs my kids would use to leave, I think given their ages, it's probably one of the sharper edged Raffi. Raffi singles.
Have you discovered Lenny Pierce yet?
No. Do I need to?
Yeah, I think so. For your kids are the right age. He does like Hop Like a Bunny and
got it.
Excavator, but like techno versions. Very very fun. Big hit in our house. Hop like a bunny, hop hop hop, hop like a bunny, hop hop hop, hop like a bunny, hop hop hop, hop 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 hop.
Bangers. You're supposed to be playing Beatles.
Bangers.
Jason, you're supposed to be playing the Beatles for your kids. For whatever reason, the one that always sticks out, like I always want to use like for my funeral is Don't Think Twice, It's All Right by Bob Dylan, which is just like it's a bit of a kiss-off song, but it's also like it's cool, man. Everything is fine. Don't sweat it. And I just, there's something very, very cool about that. Like I've accepted what's happened and I'm in a good spot and everyone can also be happy. So
that's going to be your final vengeance is that I have to listen to Bob Dylan at your funeral. Like, I mean, like
you have to give the eulogy, yeah, and then you're gonna have to figure out how to edit it and post
I'm
it.
Gonna sing Bob Dylan, yeah. I have to do all the jobs now that Matt's gone.
Exactly. Best of luck to you. All right, here is our next voicemail.
Hey.
All right, this is Truthsayer's 151st.
151,
Truth
like
Sayer.
the Pokemon.
Here we go.
Hey, Alberia here. Almost famous. This is Cameron Crowe's love letter to the moment before everything starts to get complicated. At the center of it, dispensing wisdom from a payphone like a prophet, is Lester Bangs, one of my favorite Philip Seymour Hoffman roles. Lester
Interesting.
Bangs coined the term punk rock before punk rock even existed and spent his career being exactly right about everything while nobody paid him enough. For today's Truthsayer, 3 stories from Lester Bangs' New York years. 2 of these are fiction. 1 is true. Time for the Truthsayer. Number 1. After a chaotic night at CBGB in 1978, Banks got into a shoving match with the lead singer of The Dictators over a review. Both got thrown out, shared a cab uptown, and became close friends, so much so that Lester dedicated his Blondie biography to him. Or is it number 2? On April Fool's Day, 1979, Bangs and Mickey Lee, Joey Ramone's brother, snuck into Electric Lady Studios with a renovation key for a late-night session. The cassette from that night became the master recording, which was released in 1986. Or is it number 3? When Born to Run dropped, everybody else was praising this album, but Bangs filed a pan to Cream magazine, calling Springsteen, quote, a very good car salesman in a leather jacket, end quote. His editor killed it. Bangs never wrote about Springsteen again on principle. All right, which of these 3 Lester Bangs stories is true?
I hope the third one's true. I love that. If it's bait, it worked. I'm for it. Fuck Bruce Springsteen. But that is my most heterodox Democrat opinion is I cannot stand Bruce Springsteen.
Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
horrible take. Horrible take.
I told you it's my most heterodox take. It's
Dang,
very difficult. It's difficult to work in politics with hating Bruce Springsteen this much.
I mean, I was surprised to see Springsteen and Chris Christie in a selfie this week. That was like
No,
that
so
was questionable.
Springsteen. Well, I don't know. He there's another video I saw where Springsteen told Christie was trying to give him a high five as he went to the stage, and Springsteen kind of blew him off. So I don't know what the reality is there. I don't hate him for
very
that.
good. I'm going with number 1. I'm going with the first story. What do you think? Yo.
I think 1.
Okay.
Let's go.
Let's
1.
see. Here we go.
All right, did you find the true Lester Bangs story? It's number 2. Bangs and Mickey Lee snuck into Electric Lady Studios, built by Hendrix. Zeppelin recorded there, Bowie too, and they recorded some demos in the dark of night on April Fool's Day.
Weird.
The only true currency in this bankrupt world is what you share with someone else when you're uncool. Lester Bangs knew that, and he has the tapes to prove it. Here ends the Truthsayer.
Amazing.
Good one. Good one. Unexpected.
Unexpected. I just love kind of cool rock and roll stories and the idea that, that whole thing of the currency within each other and the respect for each other and the jealousy and the anger and all of that as people who are in this kind of crazy pressure cooker situations performing. I like that a lot. Here is our next voicemail.
Hello, Escape Hatchets Kev here. Today's discussion with Cameron Crowe is almost famous as me once again missing the magazine. Not a pile of articles arranged in a line on Apple News Plus. I mean, God's honest magazine put together intentionally, designed with purpose. And while zines are great, I love a zine. There's just something romantic about the full glossy magazine. As we think about that, as Devil Wears Prada 2 reminds us that kind of thing is going away forever. As you think about Almost Famous and the kind of romanticism of Crowe's world and writing to Rolling Stone magazine, remember them? I'm wondering, Kev's question, what the Escape Hatch magazine would look like.
Oh, it's
Would
great.
it be so simple as some feature articles and the voicemailers running amok in Talis? I feel like we've entered a world where, yes, there would be letters like there would be in any magazine, but the Truthsayer getting its own 2-page spread, just imagine. Okay, so not to take away your answers, but imagine an Escape Hatch magazine. What would that look like? How would that feel? Dream it, do it. I don't know.
Do it.
Make it so. With peace and love, I'll talk to you all next week.
I love this question. I think it would look like sort of like N+1 literary magazine, very serious, mostly text, a lot of footnotes. That's
Is
my
this a
vision.
McSweeney's publication?
Something
think?
like that. Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
my
like.
take. All right,
I
I love
love
that.
it. Who's the editor? Who's the editor in chief? Is it Corey?
Corey for sure. He has the most experience. I think. I also like that Kev is like pulling real like hard lessons away from Devil Wears Prada 2 in terms of like, what it means for our times.
Too good.
I didn't see Devil Wears Prada 2. That doesn't come up. Crystal saw it with a friend and she said it was just okay. So I can't imagine it's great.
Should we have Claude build us a magazine?
No, we should not.
Okay.
We should not celebrate the downfall of publications by turning it over to AI. That is not the correct. Do you want to be booed like a commencement speaker?
I do not.
Okay.
I do not. I do not want to be booed. Okay, here is our final voicemail. Yeah.
Yeah. What do we got?
I was in San Francisco yesterday and it was really hot. Like I brought a sweater and
Nope.
I did
What?
not take it out of the car.
What?
So, nope.
We're going
That
back
was
in time. This is
that was not
it's
it.
a tenant situation.
That was not it. Hold on. Delete that tile. Let me take this. Take that. Okay.
Freaking out. I'm
Here we
freaking
go.
out, Matt. All right.
KFAC, hey, this is Corey calling from Austin, Texas, about the 2000 release, Almost Famous by Cameron Crowe, who did Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Well, he didn't direct it, but he wrote it, right? Almost Famous is not my jam. It didn't work for me when it came out. I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it like right after it was released on like VHS or whatever the hell was coming out, DVD, I don't know. And I was just like, I was also working at the record store at the time. So
Right.
I don't know if this was very beloved around my type of record store employees. There were some of our
Right.
employees that liked it, but I think a lot of us thought it was kind of cheesy. Not
Interesting.
really. I don't know. It's okay. Like it's a fine-ish movie. There's a story
Real
in this
pale.
movie that I really wish it would have followed. And that's Cameron Crowe's character's sister, Anita. Like when she like
Anita
jets off
story.
to San Fran to become a fucking flight attendant to like
Yeah.
that's the story I want. I want to watch Zooey Deschanel like go to like concerts and find herself and experiment with drugs and I don't know. She seems like a more interesting character than Penny Lane to me. Penny Lane just doesn't work for me. I don't know. Kate Hudson's fine, but
Wow.
just
Just a scalding take.
leaves
from
me cold.
Corey. Scalding.
Okay, Lester Bangs is cool. Everybody likes Lester Bangs. Everybody likes Philip Seymour Hoffman. So obviously that was a match made in heaven. Yeah. All right. That's about it for this one. It was okay. It's all right. Who would Tilda Swinton play? I mean, I think the obvious answer is Lester Bangs, but I'm gonna say she should play the other stewardess that was with Anita at the end when they run into Cameron Crowe.
Oh, that's smart. That's smart.
All right. What's next week? Something good? Better? It's not going to be another Batman movie, is it? Woohoo. All right. I love you guys. Thanks so much for doing this one. I did enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. It's fine. Everything's fine.
You
I love
enjoyed
guys.
it, Corey. We know.
I mean, Eyes
it
Wide
is-
Shut is right down the fairway for Corey, right?
Yeah, he'll like it. He'll like it. Guys, I Show will be
Okay.
fine. It is
Phew.
interesting. It is interesting. The Zooey Deschanel, who like most recently I saw in Harold and the Purple Crayon, which also will probably be on your list soon if it's not already.
Sounds like it.
For toddler entertainment.
Was that Zachary Levi?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Oh no,
Yeah.
Jason.
I mean, what can you do?
Okay.
He made a
Okay.
Purple Crayon movie. We had to go see it.
Is that your plug? Is that your plug for this week?
No, that's not my plug.
Okay. Yo, what do you have to plug, man? What's going on? Are you going to be ambassadoring some more?
I think it is a fair bet that I will not be a diplomat for the next few years.
Okay.
Did you
Very
see that?
diplomat.
Kimberly Guilfoyle had to go open a McDonald's in Greece. That could be chill, right? Yeah. She's like on the job in Greece, and she's like, first job, open a McDonald's in Athens at like the biggest ketchup bar or something ridiculous. Like she really had a real job to go do over there. So.
I saw Carrie Lake at Jamaica, which seems interesting. How do you decide? Like, were you like rooting? I should have asked you this at the top, like, were you rooting for countries or for plum assignments?
For me?
Yeah, for you.
Look, the ASEAN to me was extremely interesting because all the kind of self-evident reasons. You had the diversity of the different countries, but as we talked about, the fact that they had such an interesting geography to our strategic positioning, and it was a multilateral entity, so that way there's a bunch of embassy work that multilaterals don't have to do, the consular work, etc. So it was amazing substance and at a really interesting point in time in our Indo-Pacific strategy.
Okay, but was there one you were holding out for? Was there like, I could get to, Sweden or Finland or something, or like, were there any that it?
No, I was grateful to really just to be asked to go.
Amazing. I assume Italy is always the hot commodity that people want to get to, but that's just a guess.
The most incredible home I've ever seen.
Yeah. Is the Italian ambassador's home?
The US Ambassador to Italy, yeah.
Yeah, the US Ambassador, yeah. That's cool.
Sick.
That's cool.
Sick. Oh, okay, so what do you have to plug? Yeah, what are you working on? Anything that people can check out?
So, nothing public facing that I'd throw out right now, but I would do a little stay tuned, and I might ask for a retroactive plug to some writing project I'm working on.
Great.
Okay. So I'll ask for a plug in absentia in a few weeks.
Please, when you're ready for a plug, you let us know. We will plug away.
Thank you.
There we go. Excellent. Okay, great. Jason, what about you, my friend? What do you have to plug?
Subnautica 2 is out on Steam Early Access now, which is a game I really enjoyed. I enjoyed the first one of survival game, underwater. Really, really fun. I don't really love Early Access, but I'm excited to play that one at some point soon. So I'll plug that for this week.
You got room on the video game calendar for more video games?
I'm not sure. Not until this season of Warcraft is over. I've got some really big goals for Warcraft right now, but once that's complete, there might be room.
Are you on course? Like, how do you grade?
I'm feeling pretty good. My goal is to reach 3,400 nerd points, and I have 3,319. So I'm very, very close.
Do they really call them nerd points?
No, but I mean, sort of people do. Yeah. I'm trying to reach a specific goal in the Mythic Plus dungeon world, and I'm pretty close. So I have a good feeling if maybe this weekend, man, could happen this week.
You're really making it.
Yeah, I'm making it. I'm doing a lot.
Could I actually throw in a plug? Can I come
Please.
back?
Yeah.
Oh, come back.
So
come back.
Yeah. This is I now more correctly understand the assignment. A book that I think people will enjoy and this was catalyzed by Jason's quite nerdy, and I say that with admiration, plug, the fact that you mentioned the term dungeons. There's this great, fairly recent re-examination of the 100 Years' War called Bloody Crowns by Michael Livingston. If you haven't, if the Plantagenets, that period of time is your jam, medieval history writ large, it's worth a read.
Interesting.
Awesome.
That's a great plug. Great plug.
Isn't 100 Years' War, isn't that like the foundation for Game of Thrones?
Yeah, the Plantagenets, which were they were, I think, popularly seen as the inspiration for the Targaryens.
There you go.
Nice.
See? So you got a good reason to read it. So you'll be ready for the next season of House of the Dragon.
Really ready for the next season of Night of the Seven Kingdoms. My goodness.
Did you love that?
Yeah.
Isn't that good?
It was such a palate cleanser from, I think it was a really smart bit of programming by them, because to give you scratch some of the same itches that we become habituated to, but also be funny and
Very
irreverent.
different.
Great.
Yeah. They
Really,
really
really.
got lucky with that one, man. That one could have failed wildly.
Could have failed easily. You miscast that.
Yeah.
If Egg is the wrong kid, like you could really screw that
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, you could easily fuck that one up. Yep. Love that.
It worked. It worked. Lucky. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you everyone for being here, and we will catch you on the flip side.
Woo! All right. We did it.